Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about alert behaviors, so stay tuned.
RenderForest.com.
Okay, so today's video is just going to be really short and sweet, probably not a lot of editing in it. I have a lot of work to get done this week, so I wanted just to make a simple video because I want to keep on my weekly upload schedule. There are a ton of flies out here. I'm not sure if they're showing up very well on camera, but I didn't want to be walking around because I thought that video, I think it was my top 5 things to teach your prospect, was going to be great, and turned out it was too windy outside for the camera and the light was all over the place, so I'm just going to try to stay still. So this seems like the best lighting place I could find around my house. So let's just get right into it. So you have two basic alert behaviors that pretty much every service dog is going to need to learn. Well over 50% of service dogs do some sort of alert work. So unless your dog is strictly like a balance, a mobility service dog, or a guide dog, you're probably going to need them to teach them some sort of alert behavior. So you have touch or nudge when you finally turn it into alert behavior, and you have paw, or you can actually teach this at first as shake. I love touch. I think every dog should know touch. Even when I was doing basic obedience classes, that was one of the ones that we would teach pretty much right off the bat. It gets the dog engaged. You can position the dog pretty much anywhere you want, and you can easily turn it later into nudge, which is a great alert behavior because most people don't even see your dog do it, but you definitely feel it, especially if you have a bigger dog. I get asked all the time because that's Elsa's main alert style, is using a nudge right on my leg. I get asked a lot that, do I even feel it? I'm like, and you totally do. Especially when, because mine's a blood sugar drop. As my blood sugar drops faster and lower, she just hits harder, and eventually it's just like someone punching my leg. So definitely feel it. It's a great behavior, but it doesn't disrupt people around you or make it really obvious. Some of you may be going, oh, what about barking? Isn't that an alert behavior? Well, it's an alert behavior, but it's pretty much frowned upon throughout the entire service dog community to have your dog bark as an alert. Main reason being it's disruptive to the public, and your dog should be seen and never heard in public, and barking is totally going to attract attention and be disruptive, especially like if you're in a movie and your dog starts going off barking. It's embarrassing, and I don't think it should be even considered as an alert behavior for a service dog. So if you're training your dog to bark as an alert behavior and you're just starting out, I would recommend go ahead and switch from that. You don't want to teach them to bark. Whether service dogs should be altogether mute, I don't think that either. They are dogs that are going to bark, and while they're having fun and stuff, why not? But in public, when they're working, they really should not be barking or making up a fuss like that. Two basic alert behaviors: shake or paw, and nudge or touch. So how you teach touch and paw, there's the easiest way to teach touch is I like to take a treat and I'll put it in like the center of my palm and I'll hold it there with my thumb. It's a little hard to do, but it's kind of like you're doing a B in sign language. I like to kind of hold it like this, though, when I teach the dog. Kind of have it hold it out like that. You can use like a bigger treat. If it's hard for you to like hold your treat with your thumb, you could do it like this, but I do find it works so much better like this. And you only have to do that for like 2 or 3 times. Generally they get the idea, but 2 or 3 times. But you're just gonna put a treat there and you're gonna feed your dog from your hand. Just gonna they're not gonna do anything. They're just gonna go eat the treat. Then you're going to do the same exact movement. So here, treat, 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 and then you're going to put it there like you're giving them a treat, but there's nothing in there. You want to have another treat ready, because as soon as they go to eat this treat, because they're going to be in the mode, okay, I get a treat, I get a treat. As soon as they touch your hand, yes, give a treat with your other hand. Have that treat ready immediately. And then they'll be kind of confused maybe, but generally you'll go out again, and they may not touch it the second time. They may just get really close to it. That's okay. Just kind of wait them out, because generally they'll get closer, and it'll just be at the beginning, they're just going to be barely touching your hand. Barely touching your hand. And unless they're really, really enthusiastic. They probably won't go right into shoving their nose into your hand, because most of the time they don't like that anyway. So they're just going to barely touch it, and then you'll work it up, kind of ask for harder and harder, and that's how you do nudge or touch. And you'll just, once you get this kind of down, then you want to make them work for it, make them take a couple steps, go from here to over here, move it around, do a low one, kind of like think of it as a high five, like high five, nice and low, high five up top, kind of move it around so they really get the idea that, hey, I want you to touch my hand, right? And then once you master that, then you can either go to a post-it note or kind of just use your hand on your leg and kind of transfer it that way. But we'll probably do another video on how to transfer a touch into a nudge, or into closing a door, or hitting a button. Okay, those are all three of those. You all got to start with touch. So basically that's your homework. You want to learn touch, get touch down first, and then we'll do a separate video on how to transfer it to those three things: alerting, doors, and buttons. Alright, so for shake is our other basic alert behavior. You can do this a number of ways. I can think of 3 off the top of my head. Now, the first one I do not recommend. I do not recommend at all. It's the one where you just basically grab their paw and then say, shake, yes, give them a treat. I don't think that works at all. When you do something to your dog and then reward them, the only thing that they're getting out of it is, okay, I need to let her do this to me, and I get rewarded. You'll see this a lot when people just starting out doing sit, and they'll push their dog's butt down to make them sit. Pretty much for the rest of that dog's life, you're going to have to push their butt down and say sit. You're not going to be able to sit them from a distance or anything like that, because they're going to wait for you to push their butt down. So the dog really doesn't know sit. Now, sometimes stubborn dogs, or dogs that just, don't understand, you can do that at first, but you're only going to do it like once or twice, and then you immediately move on. Otherwise, the dog doesn't know what's going on. It's just like, okay, you push my butt down and I get a treat. Okay, that works. So same thing with shake. Don't just grab their paw, shake, and then give them a treat, because you're going to have to do that for the rest of the time, and that's not going to transfer into the alert behavior of pawing on you. Okay? So don't even worry about that one. If your dog is really struggling, you could do it once or twice, but that's it, and then move on. So the other 2 ones is my favorite, is the one where you kind of make them reach for a treat. So one of my hands is kind of holding the camera, but what you're going to do is you're going to have one hand flat out, kind of like just below their chest. So it's going to depend on the size of your dog, how high it's going to be, but just below or right at their chest. And you could start them in a sit, doesn't really matter. And you'll take your other hand, see if I can switch hands here, and you'll have the treat, and you're going to have it up higher. And you're going to you could give them a couple easy ones, and then kind of just, you want to get them to start stretching out and stretching and reaching for the high treat. And you want to just stretch it up and as far as you need to go. You're just going to have this hand sitting here, because eventually they're going to need to get higher than their neck could reach. And they're going to put their paw in your hand, all by themselves. and they're going to try to use your hand to get to the treat. As soon as their paw touches your hand, even if it's just like their toenails, like ding, as soon as it touches your hand, immediately give them that treat. And eventually they're going to get, okay, my hand goes on your hand. And this is really how you teach a shake. I've seen some people, like with my first dog, who was really started out as a trick dog, and people are like, oh, can she shake? I'm like, yep. And they go down and grab her paw. I'm like, that's not how you do it. It's like, I don't know. But, yeah, she'll actually put your hand, like, no, just hold your hand out, and she'll put her paw in your hand. And they're like, oh my gosh. But, the real way you teach shake is like that. Now, there's another way you can do it. If you teach leave it, though, like how I like to teach leave it, which is putting a treat in my hand and holding it out, and then every time they go for it, just close your hand. Now, if you taught leave it first, which you probably should, because it's one of the basics before you start alert behaviors, just putting a treat in your hand and closing your hand and let them lick it to death, that's kind of the same thing you did with leave it. And how they got it with leave it is they left this alone, so you're probably not going to get a shake out of this. Yeah. But if you didn't teach leave it like this, in your hand first, I should do a video on that. What you're going to do is you're going to put, let's do this part first. Okay, so the last way you can teach leave it is to take a treat and put it in your hand, close your hand, and they're going to try to get at it like crazy. This works really well with puppies because they typically are more apt to lick and nibble and paw at your hand. As soon as they paw at your hand, treat, yes. And that's how you teach that one. But if you taught leave it first and you teach leave it how I like to teach leave it, it's almost the same exercise except they're getting the treat by leaving it alone. And once they get this exercise, they're not going to try to paw at your closed hand. So I like the kind of climbing method. Is my favorite method. And I taught all three of my dogs, my family dog and my 2 current dogs, how to shake like that. So it can take a little bit patience. But I totally think that is the way to go, is to try to teach the climbing method, I guess you could say. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. Just wanted to keep it nice, short and sweet, and keep our weekly uploads rolling. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, subscribe so you don't miss any more videos. Thanks. Have a great day.